and welcome back to the PhatPhish Guitar Studio. I'm Dave, and in this video I'm going to introduce you to what might be the best designed distortion pedal that you've never heard of, talk about why some of the features from that design are so good and how you can apply the principles of that design into your own guitar signal path and processing chain, even if you don't have that particular pedal. The pedal I'm talking about is this. So this is the Arion SDI distortion pedal. I had one of these back in the day, sold it, went without one for a very long time, but I was after a distortion pedal for a project recently, found one of these on eBay, so for old time's sake I thought I'd get one. And it's got some really cool features which I want to talk about. It's a distortion pedal, so it makes distorted type sounds. If you want to know exactly what distortion is, what the difference is between distortion and overdrive, then I'll put a link in the information section to another video that I did talking all about that and demonstrating this particular pedal. In terms of controls, it's got the things you'd expect: level, tone and distortion. Level, how loud it is; tone, how bright or how dark it is; and distortion, how distorted it is. Foot switch, which you'd expect, and this little switch up here. Now this is where the magic happens, because this is the SDI model. DI for distortion. The S stands for stereo because this has one input but two outputs. It's a stereo pedal, and this switch here controls what happens with the second output. So we've got two outputs here. Output one is just basically the mono signal from the guitar with the distortion effect applied if the pedal switched on, or just a clean sound without any effect if the pedal switched off. When the pedals are engaged, the switch here at the top controls what comes out of the second output. It's got two settings on it. It's called direct and soft. Direct basically means that what comes out of the second output is the unaffected signal, so still clean, the signal as it came into the pedal without any of the electronics from the pedal affecting it. Or soft, over the other side, applies some of the effect, but it's a softer distortion. It's not as strong a distortion effect as what comes out of the main output. Let's plug that in and see how it sounds. Kick in the pedal, so this is the main distortion sound from it. Yeah, so a really nice, rich, saturated distortion sort of sound. The drive is just over halfway, so about 1 o'clock, and the tone is backed off a little bit. That's sitting at about 10 or 11 o'clock. Very nice sound. Now I mentioned that second output because this is designed to be run in a kind of a stereo or a two signal path sort of way. I'll talk a little bit about why you'd want to use two signal paths in a second, but first off, let's hear what the other sound coming out of that pedal sounds like. So just taking the second output on its own with a soft setting, sounds like this. So yeah, you can hear it's still got a distortion sound to it, but it's not as pronounced as the main output. So why would you have a pedal that has these two separate outputs? And this is kind of what I want to talk about as a general concept away from just this particular pedal. And it's the idea of having multiple signal paths in your signal chain, and having the ability to have like a distorted sound or an overdriven sound and something a little bit cleaner, and having a blend of the two and what that gives you. So what I'm going to do is kind of show you where that could be used to your advantage and let you hear how it sounds. So a little bit of jiggery pokery in the editing, and we'll start off with just the distortion sound on its own. Then we'll hear the distortion and the clean, so we'll have the two outputs coming from the pedal together, and then we'll try the distortion, the main output, with the soft setting as the second output, and you hear how the two of those sound together. Okay, so here we go with the distortion sound on its own. So this is basically the main output. Now let's hear how that sounds when we take the second output and bring that in. So we've got that set clean. So we've got the main distortion sound plus the same signal as clean. And that's quite a nice sound to combine the two, because you get the dirt and the thickness of the distorted sound, but you also get the extra clarity from the clean sound in there, making the the picking a little bit more pronounced. So let's hear the same thing again, but instead of having the clean second output, we'll have the soft second output. So here you're going to hear the main distortion sound and the soft distortion sound running together. And that gives you a nice rich sound, a combination of two similar but different distortion sounds, really giving you a nice thick sound. You lose some of perhaps the clarity that you have by having the clean in the mix, but you do have another distinctive sound by combining two separate distortions. Now this pedal was marketed as a stereo distortion. That's what the S stands for in the model number. And this is something to consider when you're thinking about your signal chain, is not just what sounds you have, but kind of where they are in the stereo spectrum. So if you're running with two guitar amps, think about where they are in the, where relative to the listener. So we're going to hear the same thing again. I'm going to split the signal and make more of the stereo. Everything you were hearing before was just basically in mono. What I'm going to do now is play the same thing again, but with the signal, so it's got the guitar with the distortion panned more to one side, and the guitar on the second output panned a little bit more to the other side to give you a bit of separation. And you hear how that sounds. So let's start off with the distortion and the clean. Now, I should have mentioned, obviously, to get the most out of the stereo effect here, you need to be listening on a decent set of speakers, giving you stereo separation, or on some headphones. And there you should have been able to hear, by having the guitar parts panned separately, it gives you a bigger sound again. Let's try that with the other output, with the soft distortion to complement the main distortion output. Again, you get a similar effect to how you had the sound, the basic sound, when we're listening in mono, but by having that stereo separation, it gives you an even bigger sound again. So this is something to think about, not just about using a distortion pedal like this, but having alternative signal paths. This is somewhere where a device like an ABY pedal is really useful. Like an ABY pedal basically allows you to route your signal, so it goes down path A or path B, or simultaneously down path A and B. So like if you think your signal chain going like that, like a Y shape, and then applying different effects down each leg of the signal path. So the example I was showing you here was a dirty sound and a clean sound, or a very dirty sound and a less dirty sound. And looking at ways you can combine your signal using different amplifiers to give you that spread in the stereo spectrum, or making the split in the effects loop. So you have a common input into your amplifier, and then only one side has effects applied to it, what you call like the wet-dry sort of setup. Loads of really complex and interesting patterns if you really want to go down that rabbit hole. But basically what I wanted to cover in this video is just to give you the idea of thinking about multiple routes for your signal path, combining clean and distorted signals, or thinking about combining wet and dry signals if you're doing the split after the preamp and in the effects loop. Loads of different things, and if you want to have a look on the internet, there's loads of really good videos about that. Particularly people like Dan and Mick on That Pedal Show do some really useful tutorials about how to do wet dry and all that sort of thing. So there you go. Possibly the best designed distortion pedal you've never heard of. I'd like to think so. That second output is something I've not really seen on any other distortion pedals or drive pedals. Yet it was a common feature across the Arion range that had a whole bunch of stereo pedals, the sort of thing you normally expect in stereo, like choruses and flanges and phasers, but also distortions and overdrive and like heavy metal pedals and things like that. Really useful feature. I'm surprised we don't see it in more pedals. I really like it, and I've had a lot of fun with this this sort of eBay find of the pedal that I'm playing today. Just getting back into that way of routing my signal path. Okay, I hope you found that interesting. As always, if you enjoyed it, please click like down there. If you really enjoyed it and you want to see other videos that I post on the channel, then please click subscribe, which is also down there, and click the bell icon so you get notified when I post new content onto the channel. You're welcome to leave a comment, but I don't always see comments left on videos, so if there's something you want to ask me, whether it's about pedals, guitar equipment, guitar playing, music theory, anything at all, if you go here, there's a form you can fill in, send your question in that way, and I'm guaranteed to see it and get around to answering it in a future video. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.